Hi everybody. Pete Woods here, Boulder Climbing. We are continuing our interview series of members of the climbing community in Canada. We're reaching out, we're talking to people, getting to know them a little bit better. We're having some conversations about climbing. We're trying to get a little bit deeper and know some of the people that are in our immediate community in the gym and also in our expanded community across the province, across the country, and in some cases around the world. So today I'm hanging out with Luigi Montilla. Luigi, shaper, hold company owner, gym manager, comp organizer. It might be easier to leave out, give the list of things that you haven't done in the Canadian climbing community. How you doing today?
Not too bad. How's it going, Pete?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's a beautiful sunny day in Calgary, so I don't have too much to complain about. You are currently sitting in Up the Bloc in Mississauga.
Yeah. Basically, since the gym shut down, I've just been coming in, doing a few things here and there, closing the gym up. And as of a few days ago, I've started using it as my own personal shaping room. And just trying to keep busy, keep my mind off of kind of the situation we're in right now, and trying to create stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good place to start. Like, is that your introduction to the climbing world? What was the first thing? Was it the holds, the gym? What was the first piece of the puzzle for you?
So I guess for me, my story kind of began with my brother taking me out to go climbing for the first time. At first I kind of just couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around why would you climb up something and basically just to come down. I finally tried it out, and as soon as I touched, plastic, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is it. Soon after that, I basically was at the gym every day, and they had just posted a job opportunity. I applied for it, got the job, and kind of everything kind of started from there. Started working at Rockheads. This was back in 97, 98. Through working at the gym, kind of doing every little kind of job, from working the desk, doing kids climbs, birthday parties, lessons, got into route setting, which essentially led into kind of my first foray into kind of business within the climbing industry. I started off with producing chalk balls, buying chalk, stuffing them into chalk socks, and kind of selling them at the gym, and which then led into the climbing holds, friction, did that, sponsoring comps, which then led to the Tour de Bloc. Basically on top of just sponsoring comps, trying to think of something that would kind of help grow the community and kind of help give back. That started. I think the 10th year of Tour de Bloc, I was thinking of like, how should we celebrate this kind of big achievement? And, the next big thing was, hey, let's organize a World Cup. So,
It seems like such a good idea at the time.
3 World Cups, which was, great. After the third one, I was like, you know what, every year it seems like we're trying to build a climbing gym, which, we have up for basically 2 weeks. We use it for 2 days for the comp, and then we take it down and kind of do it all over again. So, that kind of was like the impetus of like, just like, hey, let's do something that's permanent, that will stick around for more than, a week. And that's how Up the Bloc got born, I guess. So in a nutshell, that's like my journey through climbing. Yeah.
And it's a big nutshell, and it's a long arc, and I think I would not hesitate to say that you are one of the godfathers of competition climbing in our country because of the effort that you put in order to do it. And there's so many gyms that don't. And then there's this handful of people that just said, and this is so important that we're going to keep doing it. And you're one of those people. Like, I know you had a hand in the first sort of the reboot of the national championships for bouldering. I think that's probably the first time we met was in Toronto at Joe's at what a lot of people call sort of the modern era first nationals for bouldering.
Yeah. Those were definitely kind of exciting times, especially for me, kind of new to the sport, and being introduced to climbing through like top roping, and bouldering was just, this thing he kind of did on the side. It was in the corner, and on, very short walls. And I think when, kudos to Bob, like definitely, like in terms of like OG people, like definitely Bob Bergman, and his brother and Sharon, are the ones that, planted the seed, at least in my head, of what was possible. Being exposed to that, Timmy Fairfield coming in, and a few top climbers from the US, and then you guys flying in from like Alberta, from BC, and just being able to see that next level of comp climber was definitely eye opening. And and those early years, it was just mind blowing. Yeah, for sure. Super. And I think for a lot of people, it just got them psyched. It was like, this was pre kind of internet stuff, right? So it was everything. The information we got was like from climbing magazines for the most part, and you would have to wait for that information to come through. You only got to see like these people. You read them in articles, or you see photos of them, and to be able to see them in the flesh, was just, I think, like a tremendous thing to be able to have, especially as a young climber. Speaking of which, it's like, now I think I celebrated over 20 years of being in the industry, and I was once one of the younger people. Now I'm one of the kind of quote unquote older statesmen. And it's just like a weird feeling to be able to last this long and still be involved and still be relevant, or I hope I'm still relevant. It's great to see how things have progressed, yet we've kept a good part of like the community aspect of the industry, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say that absolutely is still relevant, because you are still like, it's not that you are trying to hold a comp every year that you held in 2000. Every year you're doing something different and you're evolving, and you're, one of the reasons I think that you had that longevity, or that you have that longevity, is that you've just adapted the whole way along. You've taken the things that people throw, you say, yeah, okay, let's do that. Or, okay, this is what people are doing for holds now. Let's shape holds like that. Let's build a gym in a modern style. Let's keep doing that. Let's evolve. Let's host a national championship. It's just all of those things. And there's so many pieces. And I think there's so many people that are involved in one aspect. Like almost everybody in the climbing industry is a climber, but then they do one thing. Either they're making clothes, or they're making chocolate, they're making holds, or, they're a gym owner, and there's sort of that's that separation. And I think you are one of the few people that's had so broad of an experience that it allows you to recognize what other people are talking about. Like if you're just a comp organizer, you've never owned a gym, it might be difficult to understand the stresses of being a gym owner and deciding to host your first comp, or deciding to host a major comp, and look at the undertaking that involves. But having been all of the players, and sometimes for yourself, like you've hosted major comps at your gym, like you've thrown yourself under the bus and said, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it at my gym. I think that perspective is really important. And if you had to sort of distill out the pieces of the puzzle that are maybe either that kept you going, or that are the most fun for you, like what's your settle back and think back, or look forward, or do something that gets you re-energized about staying involved for this long?
Short memory, being stubborn for sure. But I think seriously, like the being able to create something out of nothing has always been something that's pushed me. Not knowing, starting your own business, for example, without having a business degree or any background in business at all, I think for some reason has helped me kind of push forward, because there's nothing that seems insurmountable. So you kind of try things. If it doesn't work, don't repeat it, try something else. And, you know, at some point you'll be able to get a feel for what potentially works. And, you know, I guess the other thing that maybe that people don't realize is that, you know, even though I kind of do things on my own, like I started the hold company on my own, the Tour de Bloc or whatever, but there's a network of people that, you know, that have helped me kind of throughout the whole process. Whether that's like, you know, like I said, Bob and Sharon gave me a really good start, and they supported everything that I've done, kind of anything climbing related, whether it's like buying my, you know, my first round of chalk balls. When I was selling clothing, they would definitely support that. Hosting comps, the World Cup, they were a huge part of that. Same thing for, you know, the De La Plante family, that, you know, that same thing. You know, I met Jean-Marc when he was like 17, I think, on one of my first trips to Montreal selling holds. And then, yeah, we've been kind of friends ever since. But yeah, just a network of people. Wilson, kind of same thing, you know. So it's, you know, that part of the journey, I think, connecting with people and still having those relationships now, kind of help fuel kind of me wanting to continue doing more things. You know, look at Andrew Wilson. He's been kind of on and off with kind of the national team program, and now he's back and, you know, doing good things again. And it's great to be able to see that there is a place for people that have been putting in a lot of work, and there's definitely a place for people with new energy, new ideas. And yeah, that's one thing that I'm trying to do now, is try and collaborate with as many people as possible. You know, because like I said, I am now kind of getting to 2 decades in the sport. And yeah, just want to make sure that you're still in touch with the people that are kind of new, have all the energy and kind of new ideas. So yeah, I think that's still it. It's like collaborating with people, and just trying to not do the same thing twice, I guess. You know, like you mentioned, it's like we're not trying to organize the same comp every year. We try to bring something new to it if possible. So yeah, that's kind of the driving force, I guess.
I mean, I think, and that's awesome. It's like, and it speaks to the fact that there's no magic bullet. There's no simple answer, other than having a short memory. Being like, hey, you want to, like, someone pokes you a couple months. Like I remember after, like the World Cups in Hamilton were amazing. So, I mean, I was stoked to be part of those, and just to be able to move between the scenes and be behind the scenes, and you see what goes on more than somebody that watched the video or somebody that was in the crowd or people that are connected to it. And you see the work. And when you, like, there's always that moment, if you've never been, if you're watching this and you've been interested in comps, or you've gone to comps, or even if you've sort of, you know, competed in comps, but you've never pulled back the curtain into the room where the organizers and the volunteers and stuff are hanging out, and you think a comp is chaotic. Like the things that people, I mean, I remember you driving out from the gym in Hamilton to buy things for the live stream.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just go buy that. Oh, we don't have enough ladders? I'll go buy that right now on the spot. You go do this, you go do that. And the chaos of all that, there is no easy answer. And I think on the Monday, I was like, so, and you were like, I'm never doing that again. And then a month later, you're like, yeah, let's do the World Cup a second time, and then a third time. And I think they were hugely successful. I've talked to a couple of the people that are involved regularly. I mean, I think when you guys held nationals 2 years ago, I was chatting with Udo, who's a German coach and hugely involved in that community. These people still talk about the first Hamilton World Cup. They still talk about it. They talk about the one in Canmore as well, because it snowed and we thought it was going to be a disaster, and people loved it. So it's about putting that sort of that effort and the heart and the blood and the sweat into it. And what you get from your perspective, you see all the imperfections, but the rest of us just see this hugely successful event that we are really lucky to benefit from, because there's people like yourself, there's people like Young, there's people like Walson, there's people like Bob, all of these gym owners and people that are invested. And I think it's fantastic. And the World Cups are amazing. And I think if somebody poked you now and said, hey, do you want to host a World Cup? I suspect your answer would be yes.
Definitely. I think there's someone out there for sure that, that could do it, and maybe should do it. Like Fred and Chloe from Block Shop. Obviously, they have the Block Shop open. If they really wanted to, I'm sure they could do an amazing job at it. But again, they have their own kind of brand going on, and I think that is like another thing that keeps this whole kind of wheel turning. It's a great kind of complement to I guess the World Cups. But for sure, people have talked about it. Right now, in Canada, there's only been Young, myself, and I guess Commanda that have actually gone through with the plan of doing a World Cup. So it's a huge undertaking, but there's definitely someone out there that could definitely do it. And it would be great to see kind of who steps up to take on that kind of the torch in terms of organizing World Cups, because it is, once you're in it, it's a great feeling to be a part of and to be able to do for the community. But at the same time, it is kind of a lonely place because you are kind of left holding the bag. Once the dust settles and the comp's over, everyone flies out, flies back home. And, there have been a few times where I've been kind of alone, kind of taking everything down and putting things into storage. And then, kind of thinking about, okay, next year, this is what we're going to do differently. And you kind of saw that in Hamilton as the following year, we kind of upgraded like the stands, created that big platform. And and that's the key, is trying to kind of learn from your mistakes and ensuring that if you do it again, that it is like a better kind of product for people. But it just got to a point where it was definitely like this, I don't want to say a money pit, but it was definitely getting to a point where it needed, for it to kind of grow and be put in front like of a bigger audience, it needed a huge influx of kind of resources that we weren't able to kind of get. So but for sure, I'm challenging the next kind of comp organizer there to try and kind of look into it.
I like that. And I like that.
Jump in there.
Yeah. And I think that your approach of, learn something, do it better, learn something, do it better. I mean, you said you've carried it from basically almost the very beginning. And imagine you, like any of us that are in that era, when we first had this influx of climbing gyms, the holds were not good. There was a couple of people making holds, and then it took people like you and other people that started hold shaping companies to go, wow, man, I could do better than that. So there's something there's definitely recognize something that you've got this drive to improve things. And does that, is that where it comes from first, or is it the sort of the love of the sport and the love of what you're doing and then fuels the how can we do it better? Or is there a part of your personality that's like, and I like to make things better, and your brain works that way?
I think it's partly that you're kind of wired a certain way. You kind of just, you see things, you get inspired by things, and you might, like, obviously I wasn't the first person to ever open up a climbing gym, right? And but obviously it's something I'm passionate about and wanted to do, and if I had the opportunity to do it, I would do it this way. Like, seeing how all the other gyms were built, getting ideas, having your own ideas, and you're just like, okay, like, if I do it, this is what I'm going to do. And essentially Up the Bloc, is that attempt at it. If I were able to build it again, kind of this year, I would probably change a few things, knowing how things, how people use the space. It's obviously, it's always a learning process, but there are a lot of people there that that just plan and that are on this kind of just cycle of planning, revising things, and never get to do anything. You have to kind of at some point kind of actually do it. And that's the only way to kind of, I think, learn from the whole process, like actually doing it. And if you make a mistake, that's fine, as long as you learn from it and kind of do better the next time around, then yeah, it was definitely worth it. So, you know, I definitely like the creating part, and definitely, you know, just want to make sure that you're doing the best that you can at all times.
And I've got that, like, every time you and I have had a conversation, or anytime we sat and talked about climbing or anything at all, I've always got that impression from you that that's always been the way that you've approached things. And I was going to ask you, what would you tell 20-year-old you, for the first time when you embarked on this? Maybe I could be involved in the community instead of just being a participant. But it seems like it was part of your personality the whole time. But is there anything that you would tell you back then that you think would have changed anything about the arc of your career, your involvement in the climbing community?
Very interesting question. I don't know. I tell people now that the best thing to do is to try to get involved. If you are passionate about something, try to poke your nose in there. If you want to be a route setter, hang around route setters. Try to climb with them, ask them questions. They might think you're annoying, but at some point they'll kind of realize, like, hey, this person's actually taking an interest in this. Maybe it's worth, a bit of time to kind of walk them through the process, or just answer their questions, or just be a friendly face to them. And that little bit of encouragement, I think, goes a long way. So, I would be as inquisitive as possible. Do research for sure. Don't go in there kind of just blindly. Like, have a bit of information in your back pocket about the person that you're talking to, about the, the topic that you, or the industry that you're super interested in. Just kind of try to learn something before, I guess, asking questions. But I think for the most part, I was lucky that I had kind of people to look up to, and those people took the time to kind of humor me, or guide me through kind of the whole process, and be a support system. And I think that's, a great thing to have. And, for us people that have been around for a while, I think it's our duty to basically be that person now. I don't mind if someone takes over the reins of organizing comps, or the new, hold shaper, or the best route setter. That's part of the whole cycle. Is that, you do your part. We're basically custodians of the sport that we love. We're here for a specific amount of time. We push it, we make it better, so that the next generation of climbers, gym owners, have the opportunity to work on kind of the legacy that you've left, and build on it. And Rockheads, for instance, for me, that's where I got my start. And 20 years later, I'm now one of the owners, and the legacy that Bob and Sharon left, obviously I appreciate a lot. But we've kind of built on that, and we've kind of made it our own, especially after the reno. But there's a history there that is kind of priceless. And obviously I was a part of that history as well, so I have a pretty deep connection to it. But at the same time, it's like, that's the history. I want to make my own history. Therefore, you should always kind of look forward and not necessarily look back all the time. But, I think my job now as like an owner and like a general manager, I guess, is to make sure that the people that we have kind of working with us have the same opportunities that I was given. It'd be cool if one of our staff, at some point, maybe, goes out on their own and starts their own climbing gym or starts their own business. Hopefully not beside us, but, we'll be there to kind of help support them for sure, and it's like kind of a pay it forward kind of thing.
I love that, dude. I love most of what you said there. The fact that you singled out the fact that we are custodians of the sport. We don't get to keep a piece of it and pretend that we had an era that was all something that we knew more, we did better. We are, this generation we are bringing it along, and that you need to look back and learn. You need to look forward, and then, as you said, if you're encouraging people to learn and look forward and ask questions, then there's a group of people that their responsibility is to put that time aside and be supportive and not be protective or be competitive. And we should want to see that, as you say, that next great route setter maybe is one cold shoulder away from being like, maybe it's not being worth being a route setter, or maybe they're one coffee conversation away from making the decision, and who knows what you're going to get next. And I think that's really, it's just, from someone that's been around in the sport for so long, I think that's just wisdom. That's just, man, you've seen the things, like we've seen the things, we know the things. And I think it's amazing that what you've done continually is learn from the things. And you are, I know you're a pretty humble dude too, but you are like basically the grandfather of, our era of competition climbing. The Tour de Bloc, dude, like the Tour de Bloc for so many people for so long, the coast to coast national climbing series that people got psyched about for such a long time. And it's amazing that, you get to say, yeah, man, you built that. And I think that's amazing. And we could, and it's so funny, I'm trying to keep most of the interviews into this sort of like consumable puzzle, like this sort of 20-25 minute piece. But I think we could probably talk for an hour about the arc of the Tour de Bloc and what it brought to people and what it brought to gyms and what it made people do. And like future, podium, national and international podium level climbers came out of being like, hey, the Tour de Bloc came to my town. And I competed because it was accessible and I wanted to be part of it. And I think that legacy that you have is, it's just wonderful. And I think it's amazing. And most people who don't know should know that if you were part of the Tour de Bloc, guys, it's this guy right here that put that effort in for so many years to make that a part of what you want to do. And it almost feels like you get, like now you're as a general manager and a gym owner, this is like you're getting into your lazy boy days where you're like, I can sit back a little bit. I have people to do the work. So now you get to take that knowledge and pass it down into that generation. And you get to help those people be like, okay, you want to know what I know? Here's how you put on a successful event. Here's how you do any number of things that are involved in a climbing gym.
Yeah, no, and Pete, like I really appreciate that. Like I said, it's a lot of the times especially with comps, I'm always in kind of the background, trying to make sure that things are going a certain way. And I think throughout my whole kind of career, I've never really sought out the limelight. And I definitely appreciate it when people kind of reach out and take the time to say thank you. Like that to me is means a lot for sure. And that's part of the reason why I continue to do it and continue to think about like, oh, okay, I just had a short conversation with Jay Hollowatch the other day and about Renault's and what's happening with his gym right now, and kind of poked him, like kind of just said like, hey, I know it's not the right time to ask, but once we are on the other side of this, let's do another Tour de Bloc at your facility. And and kind of the same thing. It's like for sure, and that's great to hear. And it's great to be able to just call on like friends, gym owners to kind of see how they're doing and connect again. And we all kind of look out for each other. And that's the one thing I think I want to instill to kind of the new people that join the community, is that this is a community. and it's very important that you treat each other with kind of respect, because at some point you'll run. You'll see this person at the crag at the gym, and a little bit of kindness, I think, especially in these times, goes a long way. I love being kind of a part of this whole thing, and at the end of this whole kind of time that we're in right now, I'm kind of looking forward to restarting things again, and kind of keep on keeping on.
For sure, dude. And we owe you like a debt of gratitude for the amount of effort you put in. I know you pour your heart and soul into it, and I think that's evident, just in our conversation here, from people who are watching and saying, this is somebody who is super passionate about climbing, and someone who understands that it is about community, and it is about supporting and picking each other up and building each other up and helping everywhere we can. And it's a really, really, really critical piece of what we're doing. And as you say, especially now, it's going to be a little bit hard for some people when we come on the other side and say, okay, what can we do? Who's available? Who's got that? Whatever support that looks like. So I'm just going to say, like, from the Canadian climbing community, I'm going to say thank you for all of your just endless, tireless effort in putting comps together, and then just like threading this community together through all the things you do. And before we go, I'm going to ask you 10 questions. There's actually 11, but there are 10 questions, and they are generally non-climbing related, so they're not hard. And we're just gonna get a little bit more knowledge about Luigi. All right, you ready?
Okay.
What sport are you the best at besides climbing?
I used to play a lot of soccer, so I would say soccer.
Okay. If you had to choose, would you want to be in the desert or in the mountains?
The mountains.
Okay. What's your favorite thing that you cook for yourself?
I'd say spaghetti with meatballs.
Okay.
Love spaghetti.
Okay. What is an odd fact about you that we might not know?
I'm 6 years old.
Ageless.
Exactly.
Ageless. Where do you want to go that you have never been?
I would love to go to. I don't know. That's a tough question. I love the beach. I would probably go to Tahiti.
Nice, nice. If you were tied to it for, you had to pick one, rain or snow?
Snow. Snow for sure.
Okay. What's something that you're super psyched on right now?
Right now, hold shaping. That's
Nice.
I basically just throw myself at it, and I'd say it's like super therapeutic right now, and love creating stuff.
Awesome. What is your go-to boredom breaker?
In between shaping, so what I do now basically is every time I shape one hold, I run to the other side of the gym where we have a workout area, bust out a few pull-ups, push-ups, squats, and run back.
Dude,
So
you're going to be
basically,
ripped.
fitness. Yeah.
You're going to be ripped, or you're going to start shaping less holds, one or the other. Would you rather be the passenger or would you rather be the driver?
Definitely the driver.
Yeah. What's a movie that makes you cry every time?
Oh, movie. There's a commercial that always gets me on Veterans Day. It's the Bell commercial. Yeah. Grandson calls the grandfather, says thank you, and that always gets me. I always make a point to watch it if I need a cry. There
you go. What profession other than your own would you love to try?
Being a carpenter, furniture maker, something like that.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching. Luigi, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I mean, I know that we're different, busy, but I appreciate your time. And man, an absolute pillar of the Canadian climbing community, ladies and gentlemen, Luigi Montilla. Thanks a lot, dude. Enjoy your rest of your weekend, and we'll chat soon enough, I'm sure.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take it easy, brother.
All right. Take it easy, Pete. Thanks.
Thanks.